everybody, Crow here on Vilebranch, found only on titansleague.org. And I'm here with you with a video today to tell you that I am not dead yet, and the project hasn't gone anywhere. In fact, this is a video update. However, in this portion of the video I am now dubbing over, I had apparently accidentally cut the first minute of audio or so. So please fast forward to the 1 or 2 minute mark and enjoy the rest of the video. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the flip flop. And that is probably one of the strongest points of Titans League or Vilebranch or anything else. So that we're here to stick around and appeal to a very niche audience. We're never going to get too big like, Turtle WoW or Epoch or Everlook most currently, because we do not give a shit about having a massive population. In fact, I think it's more of a burden than anything else, because with a big population comes competition. With a big population comes a lot of gold farmer websites trying to exploit your economy. And honestly, it's just more hassle than it's worth. A lot of people who are more concerned with donations and money, they push for that reason, because more people can play the game and donate. Not me. I don't really give a shit, to be honest. If I don't see a single red cent, no sweat off my back, because I'm in this for free. Any of the stuff generated will go back into the server, and because of that, we probably won't ever have a cease and desist order. And if we do, there's nothing for them to garnish or try to take. So copyright infringement lawsuits don't really faze me either. Yeah, guess we get a little distracted here. That's fine, I guess. But yeah, just a quick look inside that type of stuff. I guess I could pop in real quick to show you guys the state of the realm or something. Let's check this out. Got the scaleboarding concept going on too for one of the custom classes. In fact, I actually have a complete outline for the Forge Guard, the Scaleborn, and the Tinker custom class. But those will come out much later with an expansion to include 2, not new zones, but re-released zones that you guys will be locked out of early on. And one of the main guys will be the Witch Hunters and the Witches that will be released. One of the cool things about Witches is that when you make one and you log in, you will be greeted with 2 resource bars. The first one's the most familiar one because it's mana. Everybody uses mana for some of the spells that you guys use in general. We'll use mana. Second one's devotion, and it's generated by a few of the generator spells. There's one for each spec. Putrefaction has Rot Bloom. Rites has Shadowlance, and Witch Bolt for Hemomancy. As you might have noticed, Hemomancy, because it costs health, will generate more devotion. And that's kind of the overall thematic feeling I want for the base kit spells. I want the Hemomancy spells to come at a cost, but with that cost comes greater power or greater resource generation. So you throw out like a Witch Bolt, and boom, you gain 20 devotion. I have GM on, so I'm going to turn that off so that I can actually be in combat. Boom. And you notice my devotion bar will fill up. And then when it gets big enough, some spells like Phlebotomize or Eldritch Blast will be usable. And so you can get bursts of Eldritch energy that fires into the enemy. That's a right spell. One of the hemomancy spells is phlebotomize. You can either life steal from an enemy. It's not gonna give me much because it's a dummy, but if you were to do that on an ally, then it would grant them health and deplete your devotion bar that you've built up. Presumably by expending health, but you won't have to. It'll just be a lot slower if you don't. And hemomancy as a healing spec will be a little more fast paced. And so, yeah, it's healing. You got stuff like Flesh Weave, which will directly carve out your health, but also give that portion of your max health plus a little bit of your spell power. I spell healing in this case to an ally. So it only costs you 8% of your health, which is like, I don't know, 60 some odd health right now. But I'm healing for like 140. This makes it a little more sustainable, I feel like. You have Weeping Ward, which will cost health, but hold up against damage and allow you to cast spells while it's up, kind of like a priest barrier. This too will benefit from spell healing. It'll increase the amount. I have spell power as well, to a lesser degree. On Vilebranch, spell healing and spell damage are actually separate in some items and gear, and on spell, the coefficients for it, spell power, spell damage, and spell healing are different. You know, something like an AoE, like Red Tide. This will be a spell that you can use for some AoE. I think most of your abilities for AoE will come out Putrefaction, though. I already got some ideas set up for that, for the overall spell book. Let's see. Although Red Tide's a pretty powerful one for some quick AoE damage. You're going to want to use Putrefaction and build up some devotion. Keep your Wither Seed ticking because on a target that dies, it will explode, dealing some nature damage. And then you will expend some of your devotion for Contagious Spores. And in Putrefaction, one of the talents will be that the Contagious Spores will actually allow you to spread out your Wither Seeds. And the idea behind the Putrefaction spec, the talents aren't added yet, but it'll basically cause additional disease or poison effects that will stack up, and one of the abilities will be able to expend it for a amount of damage. One of them will be some AoE damage, but overall the idea is a AoE slow nature damage over time spec for that. Rights will be very, very expensive for devotion, so you might actually start using some hemomancy abilities to get your devotion up. But the idea with it's your rights is that when you do use it, you will expend it for a crap ton of damage in the form of like Spirit Bomb, which will consume up to 50 of your devotion in order to expend it as bonus damage. I think it increases it by what, up to 30% additional damage. So if you use it in the right circumstances, this would be a pretty powerful execute. Things like, Eldritch Blast being more expensive than your 40 costs, but striking 3 times and dealing a crap ton of damage. Hemomancy is a bit more thought out, though. We have a lot more of the general stuff here I haven't put back in the spellbook yet, like Dialysis is your generic poison and disease cleanse. Essence Lash will be a damage spell that will deal a portion of your stamina as damage, actually, but also cost health, because Hemomancy is going to be split up between 2 specs. A pure healing that costs health, and you can kind of regain health a little bit, or a spec that costs health that deals a bunch of damage and has to self-sustain in order to survive. And one of the ways to do that is you can literally give yourself a crap ton of stamina, and it will give you a bigger health pool in which to draw upon for bonus damage. One of the specs, or one of the talents in Hemomancy towards the bottom, will actually reduce the health cost while you're under 50% health and increase the amount of damage or healing your spells do. And so one of the cool ideas I had for the spec would be maybe you would have to focus on being in that sweet spot while trying not to kill yourself as well. And the moment that you know pull yourself out of it, you stop dealing as much healing or damage. You got some stuff that helps with that though, like blood draw, which will deal some damage and heal for half. Um, yeah, Weeping Ward can help you hold up for a little while you get your health back. I also think looks kind of cool. And yeah, there's a few more abilities in here somewhere, but I guess I can't be asked right now. Oh, Blighted Breath. I was gonna use this for one of the AoE visuals. I think be really cool for putrefaction. Let me see. What do I got in the spells though? I could pull up a few more to show off. I guess this wound up going from a status update video to a show off video, which is kind of sad if there's not much really to show off. But we got Philalize, Leech Life. Oh yeah, I forgot. Hypnotize is one of your spammable crowd control spells. And what this will do is it'll cause a humanoid or dragonkin or giant, most creatures to fall asleep on you. Kind of like polymorph or fear. It's spammable, but has diminishing returns. And one of the cool abilities I'm going to stick in rights is going to be Nightmare, which is a 40 devotion, 5-second stun that deals bonus damage to sleeping targets. So, for instance, here, I'm going to go ahead and get a bunch of it real quick. Devotion. And I'm going to slam it into the enemy real quick. Boom. 67 damage in it, right? The stun by itself is pretty cool, though. But if you reset your cooldowns and generate some sweet devotion, then when you hypnotize your target, maybe you're in a PvP scenario or PvE and you want to turn back on the target that you were juggling, then you're going to turn back and you're going to hit him with a 5-second stun. Boom. 200 damage. It's quite a lot. It's a good start for burst, and the 5-second stun allows you to cast a couple spells before they can react, before they start walking up at you again. And so, out in the open world, I think that'll be a pretty neat ability to use. I'm not sure if this should be a devotion spell or not, but this cooldown spell is Spellbinding Circle. The idea is that it gives a 40% movement speed slow to help you kite, because the witch is very immobile, and so kiting is really important. You can do that, they get slowed, and if they stay long enough, then after a few seconds, the circle will silence the enemies and deal some damage. And so if you could combine that with some crowd control from other classes, or stun them in it, then you can go from a stun into a silence pretty rapidly. It does take 5 seconds though, so you have to time it just right. Or kite someone in here. This will be probably a monstrous spec with a Frost Mage or something. Yeah, that's all I have for that right now. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but there's a lot more written down that's still to come. But I wanted the right spec to feel like a generic Eldritch ancient magical spec that kind of is slow to build up, but when you do, it rips burst. And so even the visual on your generator spell for it spec that deals shadow damage kind of has this slow build up to it before it slams into the target with this massive energy spike. I thought that was pretty cool. And of course, you have all your baseline classes and such. Shaman has their primal spec, which makes him a tank. Archaeology is heavily inspired from a gentleman in the TS WoW Discord. His name is Kranika. He's kind of a genius in my opinion. Love the guy. This is a bit more fleshed out with various talents and abilities. You have Adventure, which is your melee spec, and deals heavily with generating artifact power and summoning voodoo gnomes. Uh, you can increase your artifact power, melee attacks against. The more weaker you get, the more damage you deal. This is a fun little guy because all five stats are relevant here, and so you find that the strength, agility, the 5 stat gear is a bit more beneficial because you get a little bit of everything out of it, even as the melee specs. You get some damage over time for melee attacks. It's pretty cool. Guile's your go-to kind of range spec. Doesn't have an auto shoot, but it has a kneecap, which is spammable. It costs like 3 seconds of your time, but you can move while casting it, and has a chance, along with actually no, you do get auto shoot. What the hell am I talking about? So auto shoot and kneecap both give you a chance to use axe throw, which will actually generate artifact power. And then after kiting people around do enough damage, maybe some crowd control, you can unleash your artifact power. I'll get to that in a minute. Preservation is an effective healing spec with some cool abilities like preserve, repair, uh, mend, or something like that. And the so generic spammable healing spec, you get some healing power, intellect, and stuff from your offensive spells or stats. You can increase your mana regeneration and trigger a Amenethus, which is if you're between a certain distance on your ally, then you get bonus healing on them, which adds up pretty well. And the repair ability will generate artifact power. Now, what is artifact power? Artifact power is your archaeology resource that you build up, and when you build it all the way up, you can expend it for these 50 cost artifact spells, which will deal or heal a certain amount of damage, give you a big old shield or something, and basically the idea is to build up, generate, and deplete artifact power to use your artifacts, which will be your de facto major abilities. It's pretty cool, heavily inspired from like the League of Explorers, Indiana Jones type stuff. It's pretty fun. Highly recommend trying it out once it's released. Then we have Scaleborn, which I haven't fully decided yet what I want to do with, but I feel like they'll be based on the dragon aspects and have kind of these like a pure melee spellblade spec, a spec that is dedicated to healing, and a spec that's dedicated to magic, perhaps. And be able to maybe stance a little bit to change how your abilities work. One might increase, like aspect of the red dragons might increase the radius of your AoE spells, but you might want to jump into the blue one because it regenerates mana and that type of stuff. Forge Guard is really cool because it's heavily inspired by the Blackrock Orcs and the Dark Iron Dwarves, and they have some fun stuff. Their Bastion spec is their tank spec. Inferno is based on fire damage, and then you have Foundry, which is based on empowering your allies and dealing some physical damage, and is a lot like kind of like a Forge Cleric in D&D, if you guys know what I'm talking about, in which they can help augment and power up your ally melee attackers' weapons, or put down some sigils on the ground, some runes they can carve that will cause certain effects or abilities to trigger, and that's gonna be pretty fun to play. And then I think those are all the custom things. Tinker will be fun. Build up steam. As long as you don't go overboard and hit 100 steam, you can keep using your abilities. Getting to 100 will silence you for 5 seconds, though, and cause you to have to lose steam over 5 seconds. They get some fun stuff, though, like ballistics will augment your ranged weapons attacks and ranged weapons. Your demolition spec will be a close range spec that deals with explosives, but you're incentivized to be over 50 steam at a given time to increase your fire damage. And so this is kind of like playing with fire going on there. They do get Death Laser, which you can use while overheating, but that's going to have a decent cooldown, so you can only use it for certain situations. When you want to crank out a little bit extra burst before your window of being unable to do stuff. And then, of course, we have Mechamancy, because I allow them to have shields, and they could get a talent to Fabricate, which increases their armor up to basically the equivalent to Mail, which is the highest that we have right now at level 20, or 19 rather. And so it enables them to be tanks, and they can place down their sentry turrets in order to deal extra damage or AoE crowd control, that type of stuff. Kind of like shaman totems, but there's only a few of them, and they do very specific stuff in order to help you control the fight. Whether it's a flame turret that deals AoE cone fire damage, or a rocket launcher that's short range but deals AoE damage by firing rockets at an enemy, and it deals AoE damage at the target location. Or a small machine gun turret that can lay down some cover fire that deals very light physical damage, but also slowly depletes your enemy's armor, weakening them to your physical attacks, like your Spanner Wrench melee ability. And that'll be kind of a fun little spec there. It'll be kind of absorption based, so they'll activate their little tools and stuff in order to do so. I thought it'd be really funny too to incorporate this magnetic field ability that in Warhammer, their version of engineers they get, and so you can activate it and pull enemies towards you, on top of you, and then use your discharge ability, which allows you to discharge an electrical field that can stun enemies for 3 seconds and deals nature damage, or I guess it's arcane damage now. I might have changed it. Um, or you could deal other AoE stuff. You put down your flame turret and pull everyone towards you and have it deal AoE damage. So a lot of little fun stuff to do there. I thought if I got overly ambitious, one of the more fun things I could probably do is maybe even have it where they could call down this goblin shredder for goblins or hordes, or for allies it'd be like a maybe something kind of gnomish, maybe like something Mimron themed, and have like a temporary pet that comes down to help you out, like I don't know, like Tony Stark from Iron Man, who calls down his suit to come help him occasionally when he wants more than one suit, or battle mechs from Power Rangers and Megazords, that type of fantasy is what I'm trying to get at here. And so playing with these themes and designing these spells for these classes has taken a bulk of my time, along with using Nogget to create some new custom areas in the zones that I plan on releasing, which is only a few. It's Hillsbrad, Silver Pine, Arathi, Alderac Mountains, and the Hinterlands, the initial launch, and then like the first expansion might be the Wetlands and the Wildhammer Highlands, which is a configured version of the Twilight Highlands, meant to be back before the Twilight Hammer took it over. Well, it's basically a bunch of like dwarves, trogs, dragon maw orcs, and ogres even, who live up in the mountains, and that's kind of a cool thing. When that one launches, I think the custom class that will come out will be the Scaleborn probably, and then maybe we'll do Lochmadon and Badlands or something, do an archaeologist themed release, and then maybe the Searing Gorge and not Blasted Lands, the Searing Gorge and the Burning Steppes, and we can release the Forge Guard there, and that'd be kind of fun. So that's kind of like my idea of what I want to aspire to do. If you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, etc. And if you want to help me by working on the team with me, feel free to hit me up sometime. Some experience is necessary, or having some sort of technological or creative background, or someone who's willing to put in the work to learn. If not, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because I am still recruiting other developers. If you want to help me work on the project, real quick though, I'm not gonna change major things like I'm not gonna allow you to convince me that I'm gonna transform this level 19 or 20 realm into a level 60 realm. Maybe later on in late launch, we could probably try something like that. But it's gonna be you guys working for my vision. It's not gonna be me working for you anymore. I'm not. The reason why I'm so hesitant to put together a team in the first place and was doing this as a one-man project is because I'm tired of joining other people in the private server scene and wind up wasting my time on something that I wouldn't even want to play myself. And I think that's what it comes down to is the best private servers in the scene are created by people who want to play them. I mean, even Blizzard Entertainment back in the day did this. All the people who used to work for them were gamers themselves. And what happened? Well, the corporation went to hell because a bunch of people who want to chase every nickel out the goddamn door want to wind up leading the charge. And so they create and design a game that they don't even know, about the player base, who would want to play, any of the mechanics. It's uninspired, unoriginal, and unplayable. It's just slop. Slop for the slop gods. It's kind of disgusting and boring and sad. Everything about it, the state of the game in retail is sad, but I'm not gonna get too hung up on that right now. Feel like getting a little too distracted. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little more elbow grease and time and energy into designing the custom stuff, and I'll let you guys know more at a later date. I'm gonna try to keep these videos uploaded regularly now. It's been a long time since I've gone without it. Sorry about that, guys. No, I didn't die. I didn't fall off the earth, and the project's not canceled. And no, Return to Glory is not my server. Return to Glory is Michael Dev's server, who is part of the Titan League team and wants to release some kind of entertaining twink content while I'm still working on my stuff, which I find admirable, and Godspeed to the man. He's very creative, very smart, and passionate, and puts together way more time and energy than I do. So, if you want to go over there and mess around, feel free. I think there's some stuff over there that'd be pretty fun to play with, mess around a bit. Uh, anyway, see you later. See you later. See ya. See you later. See ya. Bye bye. Goodbye now. Video's over. Turn it off now. Stop listening. Bye bye.